So it's become a bit of a fun trend on YouTube for people to do interviews while they're doing something else. Hot Ones, probably the biggest example. While you eat hot chicken wings, you get interviewed. Kevin Hart has the thing where you sit in the ice bathtub. Sheamus has one where you're working out. And then there's this guy here, Dr. Beau Hightower, who is a chiropractor on YouTube, who interviews people while he gives them adjustments, while he's popping their necks and shit. I could use a little bit myself. And he's had a few wrestlers on in the past. I think Bobby Lashley was on there. I can't remember who else off the top of my head, but I know this guy is definitely a wrestling fan. And heading into the big AEW pay-per-view this week, he had the AEW World's Champion on, MJF. And he sat and he interviewed MJF while giving MJF the old snap, crackle, and pop, twisting his neck, bending his spine, twisting his hips, hammering on him with a hammer and chisel. And this was a fun little interview. MJF did his usual shtick. And there was almost nothing really newsworthy by the time we got to the end of this. Just MJF being MJF and answering just normal questions. But right here at the end, this guy asks MJF, why do you think Hulk Hogan gets so much hate? And MJF didn't hold back. Check out this clip.
Alright, bite down, relax your belly.
Oh, that felt fucking weird.
So why do you think that Hogan takes so much heat in the wrestling community?
Because he's a liar and a racist.
Mm.
You know, it doesn't change the fact that he was a massive draw, and the professional wrestling business will never be the same because of him, for the better. But there are plenty of professional wrestlers that did great business. It doesn't mean that they're great people. Chris Benoit was a great professional wrestler. It doesn't mean that he was a good person. And I think for some reason, wrestling fans kind of struggle with that.
They can't separate
the two. They can't separate the two, which is why I think people love me, because I'm out and out a horrible person, and I'm honest about it.
There you go.
So it's like, at least I'm honest about it.
Yeah. I'll just let you know.
It's really sad that this is Hulk Hogan's legacy now. Because Hulk Hogan is a guy that should go down as one of, if not the greatest of all time. There would not be a professional wrestling business without Hulk Hogan. Think about it. Before Hulk Hogan, it was all the territory system. Sure, Vince Jr. was plotting to go national, but he hadn't really done it yet until he brought Hulk Hogan in. The WWF was probably one of the biggest territories, simply just because it was based out of New York and Madison Square Garden and the Philadelphia Spectrum and that kind of stuff. Boston Garden, that was all Vince's territory. Vince Sr. Those are big venues. And naturally, all the entertainment and all of that based out of New York, everything's big in New York. That's especially in the 80s, the 70s, Hollywood also out on the West Coast. But Vince had that New York locked down, and that's why they were so big. But they weren't able to go national till Vince Jr. had Hulk Hogan. They weren't going to be able to do it with Bob Backlund. And, as long as Bruno reigned and as many Madison Square Garden shows and so on that he sold out as champion, they weren't going national with Bruno either. It wasn't until the Hulkster, Hulkamania, brother. Running wild. What you gonna do? Maybe they could have did it with Roddy Piper, but it was really Hulk Hogan's magic, and then the pairing with MTV, with the Cyndi Lauper, with the Mr. T, the Rock and Wrestling. He had a goddamn cartoon on TV. Hulkamania made professional wrestling. Vince, along with Vince, it was a partnership. At that time, it wasn't the big WWF machine that Hulk was just lucky to be a part of. Hulk built. WWF is the house that Hulk Hogan built, for lack of better words. He reinvented the business. He changed it forever. Then in the early 90s, when wrestling was back on a downturn again, the steroid trials and, all the 80s wrestlers were kind of aging out or getting let go because they were all junkies and steroid addicts and stuff. It was dark days for professional wrestling, but what brought it out of the dark? Stone Cold Steve Austin, the Attitude Era? Nope. You would be wrong. I mean, it was, but what triggered the Attitude Era and Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock and Mr. McMahon? Mr. McMahon? It was Hulk Hogan turning heel, brother, to the dirty NWO for life. Revolutionized the game again. The NWO, Hulk Hogan's heel turn, changed the business forever again. Created the path for the Attitude Era with the rebellious nature of the NWO, the realism, the violence, the street fighting, the spray paint, the graffiti, the takeovers. It could only be outdone by an Attitude Era, by a Stone Cold Steve Austin and a Rock. Then Hulk Hogan comes back to WWE. It maybe doesn't revolutionize the game again, but left us with one of, if not the, certainly one of, most iconic WrestleMania matches of all time. And if it's not the, what's the other ones? Also Hulk Hogan matches. Hogan slamming Andre. What's more iconic than that? A close number 2, perhaps Hulk versus Rock. That moment where they just slowly turn their heads and look at the crowd and turn it back. And as legend has it, they did the double turn in the match because the fans were just 1,000% behind Hulkamania. Though Hulk didn't have a whole nother run at that time, Hulk Hogan left behind an iconic match that I guarantee you WrestleMania 50, 60, 75, WrestleMania 100, when they do the video packages and they show the highlights over history, you know for a fact Hulk Hogan's going to be in there, both slamming Andre the Giant in that iconic moment with The Rock. So it's sad that after all of that in his career, Hulk Hogan is yet another one who has lived long enough to become the villain. And that's exactly what happened. All his racist bullshit started leaking out. Stuff that he was saying behind closed doors that nobody was even... It wasn't even like out of context or anything. He's just talking to his kid about, hopefully Brooke doesn't, end up with this kind of guy. If she does, hopefully it's a basketball player at least, and he'll have money. This was a private conversation. Not to mention the N-bombs being dropped in other conversations. Wasn't it with Bubba the Love Sponge or something? While he was fucking his wife, he was going, yeah, those N-word guys. I don't know. But he's clearly a racist. It's not even hyperbole or allegedly, Hulk's come out and he's denied it and said, it was just, I was in a bad period of my time, period of life. And he was, to be fair, he was going through some shit. And people, when they're at their lowest, are kind of, they're iffy. They're iffy on things. When they're at their low point, you can't judge their entire character by someone at their lowest point. You got to take the good and the bad. You got to take them as a whole. But even when Hogan was back on his apology tour, he got brought back to WWE. Word was in the locker room, he never really apologized for saying the words. He apologized. He warned the locker room to be careful about what they say as a public figure in public or behind closed doors. You're a public figure. You got to watch what you say. He didn't say I shouldn't have said that. No, maybe he did. I don't know. But I know that there's several people within the WWE locker room that have not forgiven him for that. And never will. He'll always be remembered as a racist, whether he is in his heart of hearts or not. You know, like I said, you can't necessarily judge people at their lowest of low points. But what's he done to show that he's not? Or said to show that he's not? And then the liar part of it, that's not even debatable. I mean, fuck, I've done multiple videos on this myself. We have caught Hogan in so many, like Jim Cornette's done videos on this. James over at Wrestling Shoot Interviews has done videos on this. It's well documented at this point that Hulk Hogan lies about everything. So it was fun hearing MJF say that. And he said it so flippantly, slow, just off the tongue, just because he's a liar and a racist. Yeah. And you saw Dr. Beau in the background just barely holding it together, and just because it's true. It's true. And it's sad that that's the case, because as I had laid out for you, Hulk Hogan is a man that should have an ironclad legacy and be remembered fondly as probably the greatest, most significant contributor to the pro wrestling industry as a whole, ever, of all time, ever, as a wrestler. Not a Vince McMahon. Obviously, Vince is the biggest contributor to the pro wrestling business overall. But as a worker, you could say Stone Cold drew bigger money. That's not debatable. Well, maybe that even is debatable. Maybe, I'm not sure if Hulk or if Austin has made more money, outdrew Hogan. I'm pretty sure he has, but it's close. Hogan was a big draw, but Hogan contributed more to the overall business. There wouldn't be that Attitude Era if it weren't for the NWO and Hogan turning heel. There wouldn't be a WWE in the mainstream consciousness as a multi-million-dollar at that time on its way to $1 billion company without Hulkamania, brother. The liar and the racist. Other than that, not a lot else to be interested in from this video. Just, you know, normal MJF, just fun conversation, but that one really was worth sharing, so I thought I'd drop that in. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Is Hulk Hogan a racist, or do you think he was just kind of out of context Jones on that one? Or do you think, you know, he was just at a low point and didn't really mean it? I'm sorry. Or was it dead on accurate? He's a liar and a racist, and fuck him. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next brother.
Let me tell you something, brother. You can check out full episodes each and every Sunday right here on this channel, dude. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to take your vitamins and say your prayers, brother.